Ready? Okay, it's Sunday night. All the truckies are working, of course. I'm here with Peter. He's an owner driver. Pete, how's the industry at the moment?
Very, very quiet. Uh, very, very much the same as it's been for an awful lot of bloody years. Always lots and lots of promises about things that are going to get better but never bloody do. There's all sorts of, at the moment, because things are quiet and with this COVID business, everybody's running around trying to cut everybody else's throat. Contracts are changing here, there and everywhere. And like Frankie Black the other week, I noticed in big rigs that he said that drivers shouldn't be running around trying to undercut each other at the moment, and he's in all sorts of shit from the bloody ACCC.
How do you cut rates when the rates are $55 an hour for a semi-trailer hire?
I don't know how anybody could actually go and work for $55 an hour supplying a truck and trailer. Like, you just wouldn't do it. And at the end of the day, as long as people are still prepared to do it, it'll keep happening.
That's right. And what would be the biggest issue that you would like to see addressed by the politicians?
Oh, basically, I don't like over-regulation and all that sort of stuff, but there should be a little bit of regulation as far as payments, rates, all that sort of thing.
So a minimum rate would be what you would push. What about a minimum 30-day payment?
30 days should be maximum payment, not bloody minimum. Like it should all be 14 days.
So 14 days maximum payment terms.
Yeah, because, well, most people have to pay their fuel and everything in 30 days. A lot of people have to pay their fuel every 14 days. I don't see why truck drivers, owner drivers, anybody for that matter, should be an overdraft for bigger companies. You're carrying their overheads.
That's right. You're basically doing the work and then taking it on for 90, 120 days sometimes.
Well, I wouldn't work for anybody that's 120. I won't work for 90. Basically, 30 days is my absolute limit. I've just always made a policy. I've been doing this since 1976. But I've just made the bloody policy in the last probably 10, 15 years that I tell them I don't do shopping lists. In other words, I won't run around doing multiple pickups and multiple deliveries because you're just not getting paid for it. With logbooks, cameras, all the rest of the stuff that's around everywhere, you can't just drive around all day and pretend you didn't do anything. A mate of mine was in the RTA and he said the days of going and doing the trip and then making up a story are gone, and he was pretty bloody right.
There's been 575 truck drivers killed in 3 years and 112 owner drivers. That's completely unsustainable, isn't it?
Oh, of course it's unsustainable, but it's all cause and effect, isn't it? And a lot of. While you feel sorry for anybody who does get killed, there's a lot of guys get killed, and it's absolutely no fault of their own. A lot of the ones who get killed,
80%.
A lot to do with it.
80% of truck driver fatalities are caused by other road users. So we can only try and adjust the things that we can adjust, like the infrastructure that we need and the payment terms that you need.
Yeah, well, you need all that, but you can't go down the old TWU line of sort of saying, well, every time somebody gets killed, it's the fault of Coles or Aldi or bloody Woolworths. At the end of the day, there's a guy behind the wheel and he's got to make decisions. And you've always got the option of saying no.
The immense amount of pressure that you have to keep your skin in the game with buying the truck and paying your fuel and your family and everything else and competing, is it worth it? Would you encourage a young bloke to buy a truck and get into the game as an owner driver? Is it just too hard and stay on the protections and the award at toll?
I wouldn't recommend anybody who went out and bought a truck in this particular climate especially, but no, really, when I first went through this, it was a good thing. You could go out there and you could make a quid, and I've done pretty well out of it over the years. But if I was a young fella today and wanted to drive a truck, I'd be trying to work for one of the bloody majors. If not one of the big majors, somebody who was, reasonably good, has got good gear, all that sort of stuff. Like you'll see some guys will jump into anything and drive it because they just want to drive a truck. Well, that's definitely unsustainable. But you got to pick what you do.
It's a fluctuating market, but it's a criminal market at the end of the day because there's no regulations to stop people from undercutting to unsafe work practices?
Oh, there's all of that in it, but once again, that's it. You get back to you can always say no. I will not, never have, put a load on my truck just for the sake of having a load on it. If it's not going to pay me, I don't do it. And I'll run empty from one place to another to go where the rates are bloody sustainable and worth doing. There's no point, doing every bastard a favour just by carting their freight from Brisbane to Sydney for nothing, like this place here in particular. But it's, I used to always say to people, if you convince the guy down the service station to give me the fuel for half the price, well, then we can talk about backload rates. Yeah. At the end of the day, it costs you the same amount of money to run your truck, whichever direction you're going in. Yeah. The rego doesn't change, the fuel doesn't change, the wear and tear doesn't change.
So are we in it to win it, or is the industry on the downwell?
The industry's always going to be here. It's got to be here. That's the old saying, isn't it? Without trucks, Australia stops. And everything stops without trucks. It doesn't matter what you look at. Look at the ground, look at your car, look at the lights, look at the building. Everything got here on a truck. And if anything that gets built gets there on a truck, and everything gets pulled apart goes on a truck. So trucks are always going to be here. It's just about a matter of sort of trying to work smarter and not harder.
Okay. Would you be surprised to know that there's only 21 parking bays for trucks in the whole state of Queensland?
No, it wouldn't surprise me. It shocks me, but it doesn't surprise me.
It's not enough, is it?
No, but you can't, that's not just a Queensland thing, that's just about anywhere you go.
How do you comply with the fatigue laws when the parking bays are non-existent?
Well, you just pull up wherever you can. And sometimes you've got to pull up a little bit earlier than you want to do. If there's somewhere where you can got all the facilities, well, that's what you do and you work off that. It's no good just sort of saying, well, I'm allowed to drive 12 hours, so I'm going to drive 12 hours to the minute and find yourself in the middle of nowhere with nothing. It's a matter of using your life.
But we've got to take care of these drivers that are coming into the industry with no experience. Look, it's easy for you and me to find a spot to park. These guys that are coming into, they got no idea what they're throwing themselves into. Are you a member of the union, and would you join if we're going to take industrial action?
No, I'm not a member of the union. I was years ago. I was a delegate for years at IPEC. The union shit on us, and I've never ever forgotten that. And I can't see from looking at the union how they've improved much over the bloody years. The unions are more interested in getting your money for their super funds and everything else now than they are about doing things for drivers. They do their grandstanding crap with every time there's a crash, we'll get on the TV and sensationalise and say it's Cole's fault, Aldi fault and everything else, but there's not a hell of a lot being done for drivers. The RSRT thing that they come in could have been the best thing that ever happened to the industry, but they stuffed that up by trying to exclude owner drivers from it, basically. And, they dropped the ball on that one big time, and I don't think they'll ever pick that one up again.
Okay. One more question. It will be, the Senate inquiry's on, obviously, into road transport. So, what's the fucking question? What do you want to do? About the Senate inquiry. How do we get drivers involved in this Senate inquiry? So how can we encourage drivers to get involved? And you say, well, send a Senator an email. All right, ready? All right. So, Pete, how do we get truck drivers involved in this Senate inquiry? Because I've been trying to get them to send an email just to get involved.
Well, I suppose that would work. Which senator do you send it to?
You send it to the Senate inquiry.
Senator, I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, it's on the channel.
Who's the senator in charge of it?
The senator at the head of it, Senator Glenn Sterle from WA, and then there's about 10 other senators sitting on the committee.
Right. Yeah.
But drivers can just email straight to the committee, and anything.
But will it be another inquiry where drivers can send emails to it, and then basically the only ones that get listened to are these so-called self-proclaimed peak transport bloody boys?
That's why I'm out here. We're doing the militant media. Me and Pete, the owner driver. Here we go. Look at him. He's big Kenworth. Look at it. Oh, it's so sexy. I want to buy it myself. All right. Thanks, Pete.
You're welcome.
We're going to... Oh, actually, I'll show you something before I go.